Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 17 of 31 days of horrible crafts and even scarier stories. Today I'll be reading another spooky tale or two from a website. Today's tales come from Jezebel.com, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the spookiness. Story number 1 is called Losing Yourself in China from Nilly. So when I was barely 20 years old, I was traveling with a small group of people through China, and we were spreading about 2 months of the Qinghai province, which used to be part of Tibet. Our destination was a specific town to teach English, but we'd been stopping often in towns and small cities along the way. One day we arrived in a rural town, very small, nothing unusual. We spent only a couple of days there shopping for food at the markets and walking around to see the sights, although there weren't many. This was in the dead of winter in February, and all the grass on the hills and plains around the town was dead and brown. The overall feeling was that of a normal kind of bleakness that any rural place has in the winter. At this time in my life, things were going amazingly. Extraordinarily well for me, and I say that's because my teenagehood had been rather darkly and overcast. But the overwhelming good luck of being able to travel and these close friends I'd made in the last year had more than changed my feelings and attitude towards life. It was like I was a whole new person. I was ecstatic to be in Tibet, went to sleep with a smile on my face every night. On our second day staying in this small town, I woke up feeling a little odd. Not bad, just odd. Like my normal thoughts and feelings had been turned down low, like on a dial. We all decided to go for a walk on the hills right behind the town, where there was a small summit with a pile of rocks and some prayer flags. To be honest, there were little altars like these on every other hill, but it gave us something to do. As we hiked up the hills behind the town, I started feeling stranger and stranger. I wasn't scared, and I didn't feel angry or any strong emotion. In fact, it was like emotion was trickling out of me somehow, and I was getting blanker and blanker, emptier and emptier. My mind started feeling a little hazy, and more I felt like I simply didn't care about anything. A small and rapidly dwindling part of myself started to panic. Knew that something bad was happening, but it was like my own inner voice was slowly getting quieter and quieter. I remember we reached the little summit, and I simply sank to the ground next to the pile of rocks. Without meaning to, I started tuning out the voices around me and fixed all of my attention on the little pebbles in the dirt. I began tapping one against the other repeatedly. Do you know the kind of horror that is opposite of feeling scared or feeling anything at all? That kind of vacuous hideousness of a fly buzzing around a closed window for hours on end in an empty room? That's what was filling my mind. It was demonic and it's meaningless. I touched my face and felt that I was grinning at nothing. Through all the emptiness, a thought floated to the forefront of my mind. You should just die. At first it sounded totally reasonable, but something in me fought it, and I was momentarily troubled. Right then, my group started to walk down from the hill, and I followed. The further we walked, the more normal I felt, until we left the town that afternoon, and I was totally freaked out. When another girl, Hannah, mentioned in an odd, offhand way that she had felt strange and depressed while staying there, I told her that I'd felt the same. When the group leader mentioned that a local had told him that the town had been plagued with the rash of young women under 25 committing suicide, Hannah and I went white. Story number 2 is called What the Dog Knew. In my old apartment, my dog would, on occasion, look down the hallway towards the bedroom from the living room and growl for no apparent reason. Also on occasion, when I was sleeping in that bedroom, she slept at the foot of the bed, I would wake up with her staring intently at the door and growling. She was a big girl, 140 pounds of Great Dane, Catahoula, and slobber. So I'm there for a couple of years of this thinking, okay, my dog has a good imagination. Wrong. One night I woke up due not to my dog growling, but barking for all she was worth. And not at the door. She was barking straight at me. I opened my eyes pretty much immediately, and there was a blur of light leaning over me, very close, certainly less than 6 inches from my face. It was not distinguishable as a person. It more resembled a person-sized version of a colorful nebula you might see a picture of in a science magazine, 3-dimensional and all. I immediately got the distinct impression that this thing had been watching me sleep, for God knows how long and how many times before. For all the clarity of that distinct feeling, I had no sense of what it wanted, whether it was malevolent or just curious. I flipped right the fuck out, jumped backwards to the other side of the bed, too terrified to scream, and that blur of light receded and disappeared over the course of about 3 seconds. My dog was going absolutely ape. So shortly thereafter, I asked the building manager if anybody had ever died there. She investigated that and came back to me a couple of weeks later with a yes. A woman had died of a drug overdose in that apartment in 1995, so 12 years earlier, shortly after having her child removed from her custody because of her addiction problems. My dog did still growl at the hallway from time to time, but I never saw it again. I moved out about a year later. I've had other encounters, but this thing was literally inches from my face watching me sleep. Getting shivers now just writing about it. Well, as always, if you guys haven't checked out the previous videos, the playlist is linked down below, as well as a link to this article so you can read all of their other scary tales for yourself. If you'd like to see how today's project turned out, there's also a link to my Instagram where I post each day's project. Thank you guys so much for watching, and sweet dreams.